interviewing top talent in movies, television, sports, and music, leaders, entrepreneurs, and experts. Broadcast in over 30 out of New York, Manchester, Los Angeles. As a mentor, life and career coach, I help others, athletes, actors, and people of all walks of life, solve the problems they face by introducing balance and routines that would otherwise leave them stuck and overthinking, paralyzed, unable to reach their goals. They look for engaging, rewarding lives, and I think they deserve that. Today, I invite you to join me on my radio show to learn from my guests and I how you can be more resilient and strong. I empower people who struggle with confusion or feel stuck in soulless, non-fulfilling situations. I help them find calm and claim their authentic self in their career path or personal life so they can live to their fullest potential. As a motivational speaker for businesses, schools, resorts, and communities, I speak on topics of achieving success and living a mentally healthy lifestyle, featuring topics from my Power My Life program within my revolutionary Impact, Influence, and Income Academy. I inspire the world as a radio journalist, author, life coach, career coach, resilience expert, mental health advocate, and most recently as a society writer for Transatlantic Today magazine. So happy that you joined me. Let's get rolling. You don't just have to go through it, you can grow through it. Good morning, and thank you for joining Resilient You with Alicia Pozsony on Power 98.5 FM. On our show, we have guests that talk about topics of resilience. Today, I am happy to have with me someone who has a wonderful story to share with us. It's very inspirational, motivational, as well. We'd love to hear everything he has going on in the world. Lyman Good, also known as American Cyborg. Lyman, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself right out of the gate?
Yeah, so I'm a professional fighter, compete currently in the UFC. I've been fighting professionally for 18 years, and I also run a mixed martial arts school in downtown Manhattan, and have been operating that for about 8 years and going strong. Outside of that, I am now a huge advocate and proponent of mental health awareness, to which my partner and I had just recently opened up a new brand, a new company called Good Theory. And through that platform, we're able to talk more on behalf of mental health awareness, the stigmas of, mental health, and everything surrounding trauma, about wearing masks when it comes to certain industries and certain fields, and everything basically that lines up with your mission with Resilient You as well.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So you've accomplished personally, and you've had to have a lot of discipline in order to get there, right? With the fighting aspect. I think your challenges might have been different early on than as you've progressed through your life and through your career. Do you want to talk a little bit about your challenges that you've faced through the different phases of your life?
So I was born and raised in Spanish Harlem, in the projects, basically like Section 8 housing. Kind of skipped around throughout the years from shelter to shelter. It was my mother and I. My father was in the story here and there, bits and pieces. But primarily, my initial struggle was just finding a sense of self amidst the crowd that was predominantly gun-toting, gang-banging, drug dealing. And I also didn't do well in school because I had a very hard time watching people getting picked on and bullied. And that would trigger me, so I'd always get kicked out for beating up bullies and getting into fights and whatnot. Initially, fast forwarding through that and getting into the career of mixed martial arts and fighting professionally, I think there was just an immediate sense of relief, an immediate sense of channeling a lot of anger and sadness that I was storing and keeping inside. There's a lot of things that I struggled with since I was a kid that I failed to open up to anybody about. There's a lot of abuse that happened to me since the age of 9, both physically, sexually, emotionally, done by family members. And so through the shame of that and the embarrassment of talking about it, I never opened up, honestly, until as of recent. So the initial struggle for me was wearing a mask throughout the years of fighting professionally, especially in a very male dominant, masculine field that is all about showing empowerment and strength. I felt obliged to have to wear this, I guess this persona and always play this character and this avatar of, showing resilience and strength, but not really going into what it was that I've, been challenged by my entire life. I've always put out there strength and motivation and inspiration, but meanwhile, I was in pain. I was sad a lot secretly, and I always kept it to myself. I'd never open up to anybody about it, not even my own mother, until later in life. So the struggle for me wasn't so much a struggle as it was a burden of silence. So I've spent many years just muscling through life, being strong, becoming successful as well, because I refused to be a victim despite whatever may have happened in the past. But there was always a part of me that felt empty and alone and always sad. There was always this void inside of my life that I never felt, it never felt fulfilled, no matter what success or anything I did. And I think a great deal that had to do with how silent I was over the years, and that there was just that part of me that was untouched or unseen, and I never put out there for the world to see until now.
So many things. Lyman, wait a minute. So you're obviously a man in a male-dominated industry, and you seem to be so in touch with yourself now. And again, a lot of men, and this is something that, I've done courses on men and communication. I've done courses with women and how to stand up for themselves. But it sounds like this is a pivotal point that I think will hit home with many of our listeners. How is it that you were able to come to this conclusion? Obviously, resilience in the ring, you had to be resilient and come back and, have methods that you might use in other areas of life. But how is it that you're so connected to that inner part of yourself?
There was a lot of work that I had to do, inner work. To me, I don't really know how to give a particular answer to that question, because it kind of all unfolded in a mass chaos that started about 4 years ago. I was in Vegas getting ready for fight. It was fight week. I had experienced for the first time in my life, I guess it would be a panic attack, as people would describe it. I'd never felt that in my life before. I thought fight week, I may have eaten something bad that, made me feel very sick, because I was hot. I was sweating through my clothes, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get enough oxygen in. And I remember just undressing, and I was basically naked, lying on the bathroom floor, feeling like I was about to puke. And after that moment, I felt that was a part of me that I needed to reconcile. And it was because my father had died recently at that time. It was days before that fight. I found out the news about my father passing away. And the chaos unfolded not because of his passing. Part of life is people live and people die. But it was more of what died with him. And it was a big part of me that died with my father, because what led to all of my success throughout my entire career has always been anger, has always been the negative feelings and everything that was broken in me because of, things I went through, because of him being there, and because of his absence, and because of challenges that I had with him being in my life at that time. as well as for my mom and for my sisters. And so prior to that, I had a conversation where I released years of anger that I had towards him. And I basically had said things that at the time I wasn't aware that that would be the last time I'd ever speak to him. And so I said some very things that I, you know,
It's okay. Take your time.
this part's always hard for me to talk about. I apologize.
No worries. If it's too much, we don't have to stay on that topic.
No, it's okay. It's part of the story, you know. Obviously, I still struggle with that. So during fight week, I was in that hotel room experiencing what felt to me like it was just this feeling of panic. I panicked because all my life I stayed quiet. And then I'm sorry. When I finally open up and say what I've been storing inside of my heart for so long, I thought that would probably be the start of a new chapter where we can reconnect, because I finally had the opportunity to say what I've been wanting to say my entire life. But again, I didn't know that would be the last time I would speak to him. And the other side of my family, on his side, also kept me from taking part in his funeral arrangements. And so it was done behind my back. That side of my family, I decided right there and then would be dead to me, and I'd never speak to, because they took away something that was very important to me, and it was closure. And I remember going into the cage, stepping into the ring to go fight, and for the first time in my career, just feeling like I just did not want to be there. All the anger that helped me in my fighting, I felt, was now misguided. And I didn't have that anger, I didn't have that drive, that fire, that fuel that helped me in all of my fights. It was now, snuffed out. Like the embers of the rage that I had that kept me and this fire going started to feel snuffed out. Like I didn't have that in me. And I ended up losing the fight, went home, and I think I decided right there and then that I was going to, I guess, heal or confront things that unraveled because, of my father passing away. And again, there's so much more to the story, and I can't, we don't have the time or everything to go over the entire history of it. But all that did was unravel the years that I've been layering beneath this mask that I've been wearing every time I went out there and fought, or any time I've ever been in front of a camera and have spoken. I felt to me it was the first time I was actually healing, and I was feeling years and decades of depression, anger, and sadness that I avoided my entire life. And for the past 3 years, I've been having, I've been doing things to myself to punish myself for what I said, the way things ended. And it was a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of anger. There was so much going on, but yet I would go into my school, and still teach, keep wearing the mask. And it was, to me, such an auto response. It felt like it was autopilot. And I would just keep doing that. Even after I was still wearing a mask, still trying to show myself and appear strong, especially for my students and for those who, followed me and who I felt I was, a source of strength for them. I started, for the first time in my life, feel like it was a burden now. And I, just to fast forward through all the ugliness and the messy parts, I was in and out of a hospital for the abuse and addictions that I was going through at the time. I was hurting myself. I was doing things that were a form of self-inflicted punishment.
Mm.
The worst part was being sitting bedside with, a gun pointed to the side of my head, and I had my own finger on the trigger. And I didn't even feel that was deserving because it was too easy. I felt I needed to punish myself more. So rather than feeling like I needed to leave and depart, I instead decided it's more worthy for me to live and punish myself instead. And I spent years living that way afterwards, silently, still. I met my partner, Mika, during that time. And she was somewhat of a participant in the chaos of that time. Not firsthand, she wasn't helping me in terms of, me hurting myself. She was supportive, and she was just a big part of my my healing. I went through a journey where I needed to go through it, and she understood that. And she was literally a passenger, with me along the way through the chaos and everything that I was doing, in and out of the hospitals, being arrested at one point, getting, to points where I was passed out or throwing up from how sick I was making myself from the things I was doing to my body. But she understood the power of having to heal, and that it was something that I needed to go through. So she stood by just to support, but to make sure that I wouldn't go over the edge. And I guess she saw in me that I was healing and going through it. In that time, it was the inception of Good Theory. That's where our mental health awareness movement was created. I'm the third of my generation. I'm Lyman Good the third. And throughout this healing, I also started to understand the power of forgiveness, and that it takes understanding who a person was before the thing that hurt them made them hurt other people. And I started to realize that all my father was trying to survive himself, because he was unloved and he was abandoned by his father. And, it's a testament to how hurt people hurt people. And he didn't mean to. He lived the best way that he knew he could, and he loved in the way that he knew how to love. But, once I understood how powerful healing is and that it's needed, I felt now empowered by the message of that, and how it's important for other people to realize that we all need healing of some sort. There's a trauma that we've all undergone that have made us create this mask, this character that we live inside of every single day. But meanwhile, we're dying deep down inside because we're not addressing what needs to be addressed. And Mika came up with the idea, let's call it Good Theory, because everybody at face value, when we see one another, we're always telling each other that we're good. I'm fine. How are you? I'm good. That's such an automatic response, but we're only good in theory. And the power of that is that you can be even greater. You could be better than good, and there's a lot of layers to it as well, because I am the third Lyman Good. I'd like my existence to be the change that my generation needs, and also my lineage, because I want to heal the family and generational curses and the trauma, from my father being abandoned by his father, etc. So there's a lot laid out now on my sense of duty, where I feel like I have a responsibility now to help other people, even though I myself am not. I'm far from perfect. I'm still on that path, clearly, as you can tell. It's hard for me to talk about it without crying, but it's almost like a rebirth through the pain of the things that made me feel broken in my life.
Yeah, well, this, the good in theory, I love that. And it's true. And personally, I've always hated that, how are you? I'm fine. I'm good. Well, no, I always want to give the real answer, and then people don't want to talk to me anymore. But it's true. We all have this thing inside us that makes us want to have a mask, as you say, or wear a mask. And, I myself, I know my father abandoned me and my mother. My mother was mentally ill herself. So, I know that a person who doesn't have support or who goes through trauma, they find ways to get by. And what you've described is so common. People have, you get to that point in your life and you're like, well, wait a minute, I might be acting this way because it's what I'm doing to protect myself. And even though we have those walls that we keep up, that pain always bubbles up to the surface, right? And then we do things like if abuse ourselves or abuse others, and we pass it on to the kids or to the people who see us. People don't even realize. So this is just amazing to me, coming from, again, an imperfect place, dealing with it. I had therapy, I had support, I had mentors. And I want to ask you to go back a moment, because I know a bit of your story. And when you had that gun pointed at your head, what was the thing? Can you tell our listeners, what was the thing that made you not do it?
My mother.
So you thought about your mother and how she would check on you, and you didn't want to leave her. And I bring this up not to have you feel more pain. Certainly not. I bring this up because it's so important for people to recognize the good that they have in their life. And it's such a dance that we do, relationships and managing our life and trying to be good and get by. It's definitely something that people overlook. They don't often take that support. And I know I mothers are, women, they nag. They they are a pain to the children, right? The kids don't want to hear what we have to say. They want, women have different roles that they play, and they're a caregiver, and oftentimes they're not cherished for what they are. So, listeners, if you're out there, if you've ever had a situation where you've made a choice when you knew it wasn't the right thing for you, it wasn't the best thing for you, remember Lyman Good. Remember his story, how he was able to be not only physically strong, but mentally strong, and able to deal with this, to fight that generational curse. If you have something in your life that you know is either blatantly wrong or under the covers, right? How many of in our families we have, drinking, we have alcoholism, we have abuse, we have things that are not talked about. The time is now. This world we live in is so amazing, so supportive. We have so many things in our favor. I mean, the talk about mental wellness is and really making that something that's common and accepted. I love that, to hear that you're doing this. So tell our listeners about Mika and about your story with Good Theory. What do you have going on? What do they have to look forward to?
So right now it's a series of podcasts as well as apparel that we're selling to promote the messages behind mental well-being. And it's just at the moment awareness. We're not by any means professionals in our field, nor are we trying to promote ourselves as that. We can't help other people. But what we can do is provide more of a safe space and an openness for people to feel the courage to be able to open up and speak. A lot of people who endure life events, they, for some odd reason, they tackle it onto themselves as a burden of something they need to be silent about. And I know this personally speaking. My story now, I've maintained this etiquette of silence for, decades, my entire life since I was 9. And people need to feel courage, that it's okay to speak up and to talk. And they also have to have the sense of feeling safe because I think there is the stigma of weakness that comes about trying to open up about, anything that is sad for the person or anything negative. When a person wants to open up and talk, automatically they're seen as weak, that it's
Mm.
considered more strong to stay quiet and just muscle through life. Mind you, I'm also not on the other side of it where it's okay to just completely abandon ship, let everything out there, and then just, sit on the pain for your entire life. And that's that. I believe you have to carry on and move forward regardless of that pain and regardless of opening up. So I'm somewhere in the middle between the having the openness and taking the time to heal the trauma, but to not take too much time and stay in there. There's no way you could clean yourself from the mud if you stay in the mud. You have to be willing to move forward, and that pain has to be substantial enough in your world for you to also want to change.
Mm.
It's very interesting that human nature dictates that we have a tendency more to change through a state of pain than we do from a state of comfort. And it's a known fact. That's why, we have to hit rock bottoms. We have to have, this absolute worst moment of turmoil in our lives, like the bottom worst that can possibly happen to us, for some reason needs to happen for there to be change. That feeling of, your back is against the wall. Now, regardless, needless to say that everybody has some form of trauma and some healing that they need, but it's amazing what can happen when you change perspective, because all those very same things that make you feel broken, unlovable, unwanted, or like there's something wrong with you are the very instruments to your own success. That's the brick and the building tools towards a better future. Once you learn to embrace those imperfections and all those things that you think are the worst parts of you are actually the best parts of you. You just have to learn how to overcome, you have to have resilience. You have to learn that those things, they're not there to break you. God blesses us with pain so that we could create, become reborn and change from it and become a better man or better woman so that we could help others. Our
It's
duty
so
is served
true.
twice. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to just echo that, if the same tools that got us there will give us the grit that we need in order to tackle whatever comes our way. Somebody the other day said to me, you have to be grateful that you went through that depressive state in your early 20s, right? Because then if not, you wouldn't be where you are today. And I was like, no way. I'd rather not have it. Are you kidding me? Like, no. And 10 times no. But the truth is that's why I'm here today as a motivational speaker, putting out books to show how to become stronger and how to be resilient, how to power your life. The thing about the truth is really what they say, the truth will set you free. So by you opening up and being transparent, not only will help you to become more confident in who you are, to understand that it wasn't your fault, you can still be loved, you can still be great. And it's not, you're not I heard Oprah say this just this week, you are not the thing you did. You're not who you were when you did it. You are only who you are. And if you don't keep doing that thing, then you're not that. So again, this was from Oprah this week. She counsels people in correctional facility, and it's just amazing all the change that I'm seeing in the world around this. So again, Lyman, I know that good theory, what you and your partner are doing, I think it's really going to help a lot of people to take that step. Your courage is amazing. So how did you go back in the ring after you lost all, the fuel was not
I
coming from
haven't.
that place anymore?
I haven't. It's
Mm.
been 4 years. I told myself I'm not stepping foot back into that octagon until my head is cleared and my heart is lighter and my shoulders don't carry the burden of decades of pain any longer. So I've taken the past 4 years to go through everything I need to go through, good and bad, everything. Whatever needs to happen, I've allowed the space and the time and the freedom to let it happen. The chaos, the beauty, everything, far and wide and everything in between. I've taken the time to devote myself to myself and to allow what needs to happen, let the currents take over, and wherever it needs to take me, let it take me. But there's opportunity there. As they say, there's always opportunity in chaos. And change happens when you also develop self-accountability. So I've also taken the past few years to really look at myself in the mirror. Not say that I'm being accountable, like truly, absolutely being accountable. You said before, the truth will set you free. But you have to be also willing to allow the truth to enter your own ears and to really speak your truth. Not say that you're, speaking the truth. So like, absolutely. I'm talking about everything that you don't want to hear, that you're either ashamed of, embarrassed, that you don't love, or any parts of you that need that truth to be spoken, needs to be felt and heard. Because that is the first step towards healing, is addressing the demon that's there, addressing the parts of you that you have to be honest about. So I've taken the past few years to do exactly that, really look at myself in the mirror, and to also learn how to become an observer. You said Oprah Winfrey was talking about how you're not the thing that happened to you. I 100% believe that. You are not your emotions also. So what happens and the feelings that come from that aren't really you. It's your ego, or it's a reaction that you're having to, the world and to, being alive. But it's not really who you are. It's just a matter of how you respond to trauma. That's why two people could go through the same thing, but they will react to it completely different. So what's helped me is to learn how to become an observer. Whatever is going on, step back and observe myself and really study myself and, develop self-awareness. So to me, self-awareness is the first step towards self-mastery.
It is. That's the first step in my Power Your Life program too, by the way. Be honest about everything, including all about yourself. Real quick, I have to share a story. My stepfather came into my life, and he was a policeman. He was a police detective. And, throughout the years, I came to learn that he was abused, that his mother was abused. So not only did he have to watch his mother being abused by these men would then abuse him. And he stood up for his younger brother. He was the oldest. He stuck up for his younger brother to protect him from these men. So he'd take these beatings. And long story short, that's why he became a cop, right? To protect and serve. And it was his internal workings. So as his own mother, aged and she became, different, he realized what had happened. But by this time he felt he couldn't give up his career. And so he had to continue in that life day after day. And even though he was in therapy, he started in therapy late in life. He went back to college to do something different. He died prematurely, suddenly, but I feel like he did have some peace. He kind of got there. And me as a kid, I'm like seeing all of this, and it was just bizarre to me even then, right? Because nobody else in my life, in my circles, I grew up in an inner city in New Jersey. I had nothing. My mother was a welfare mom and dating different men, and just, it was, but long story short, my point is that what you're doing, Lyman, is just amazing. And I know that the release that you might feel, is only a fraction of where you can go. I really want to tell you today that you've healed probably more than you realize by being able to do this interview and come forward and now teach others and give others the benefit of that insight right? You said you're not experts in what you do, but I argue that you are. You are an expert in managing that chaos in such a way that is helpful, right? So you've done the thing that doesn't work. Now you're able to teach others what will work. So to give that space for them to be open, to start their journey, and to feel safe in that, it's just amazing. And listeners, if you're listening to this and you feel prompted, if you feel like you're inspired to do something, please get help of an expert. Your buddy may not know how to help you. Your friend might not help you. Your parents, someone in your circles. Get help of a professional. There's a lot of free services. You can dial 988. You can chat 988 and just start the conversation.
Absolutely. It's very important to also realize it's not weakness, it's strength, because it takes courage to open up. And I'm a big proponent of communication now when it comes to that, because I've tried that route for 18 years of my professional career and longer past that, through decades of remaining silent, thinking I need to muscle my way through my pain. But it takes a lot of courage and strength to do the complete opposite, to actually open up. You have a duty twice in this world. One is to yourself, the second is to others. When you heal yourself and when you become so good at unraveling and kind of, getting yourself out of the mud, so to speak, guess what? You become I wouldn't say an expert, but you become someone who's very well versed in being able to help others as well, because that thing, that pain, that experience, that trauma, whatever it is that ball and chain that's been stuck to you your entire life, has actually been strengthening you as you've been walking, so that you can help other people who probably aren't as strong, who sadly think that their way out needs to be, a gun to their head, or overdosing, or hanging themselves, or something terrible, where they feel the need to feel that the only way out is to end their life. But I would rather have a conversation with you crying on my shoulders than to have the conversation with your family at a funeral. And the other thing is, sometimes it's easy to hang ourselves up on what we didn't have in life growing up, but you'd be amazed at how beautiful the sense of recreation is. You either emulate or you create. You emulate what's been done to you, generational trauma, or you create and you do something different. But in creation, you also end up becoming the person that you once needed when you were a child, and you become the thing that you didn't have. And in doing so, you become that person that someone else needs or who doesn't have. Not everyone is blessed in this world to have both parents, to have a house and roof over their heads, to have food. There's so much that we take for granted that we don't appreciate. So first, appreciate what you do have. And then second, what you don't, you're not stuck to that. It's not, you're not confined to that for the rest of your life. You can change that, not only for yourself, but then become that for someone else who doesn't have.
Very true. Very true. When we talk about resilience and about being changing to help others, I created this book 2 years ago, Emotional Strength Explained. It's a workbook. It's a journal that you're prompted, and 30 days you can feel stronger. You can get to a place where you have the steps you need. This isn't going to fix you. This is simply a tool that will help you to get closer to your goal. And if your goal is understanding where you are, opening up to where you want to be, if you want to start to engage with someone, but you're not ready to talk about it, you can use this book. It's available where books are sold. Also, for the kids out there, if you have kids, I have a fun book. It's for them to help. I wrote this with my daughter, who was 8 at the time, It helps kids and caregivers to help them understand. There's little tools, there's little messages. Obviously, they can't write at that age, but there's different things where they can start to understand what it means to be in control of their emotions, what it means to feel a feeling, and understand that that's okay. And if one of their friends are treating them a certain way, it helps them understand about that too. So when you're in that age group from 5 to 7, it's something that's really needed in this world to teach kids at that age. So grab this book, fun book. We can stop the curses in this generation. I think that we've had 10 years ago, the information age. I think we're in the transformation age. I'm going to coin it here today. But again, everyone, you can check out Good Theory online. You can look at what they have going on. They've got some merchandise. I'm looking forward to what you have coming next. I know, Lyman, you're a SAG member and you've been in some productions as well. Do you think you'll be doing anything in the acting world now?
Yeah, I've done a few roles already. Did one a month ago, stunt work and things here and there just to keep me busy. And also just worked on a film. It was about 6 months ago. Did a recording, like an underground fighting kind of thing, like really cool. It's coming out soon.
Good.
What I'm most excited for, besides the development and growing with Good Theory and being able to help bring more awareness and help other people, is for me to return to the octagon this year. This is the year that I will make a return and go back into the UFC. I feel that this is a chapter in my life that needs to turn, because I went back in the book of my life to recreate and restructure the story. Sometimes we live by the story we tell ourselves. And the power of storytelling is so profound. But the most powerful story there is the one you tell yourself. And you have to realize you always have the pen in your own hand to recreate, restructure, rewrite, and, build your own life. Just own up to your, the things that you think are your imperfections and parts of you that are broken. Own up to it, embrace it, because life is not meant to be perfect or always beautiful. It's ups and downs, it's black, it's white, and it's everything in between. There's shades of gray that we have to embrace in life as well. You can't live so, one-dimensionally and think life is just always about happiness, but it's about growth. And in order to grow, there has to be discomfort and pain.
Wow, that's so. First off, I'm amazed to hear that. So, look for Lyman this year as he makes a comeback. We have several topics we've covered today. I don't know where to go with this. It's I hate to end. I'm like, wait a minute, we need another hour to go through more. No,
I'd be happy to come back on and chat more with you anytime you'd like.
Wonderful. Well,
And
let's
I'd also
do it.
like to have Mika on board as well. We didn't really touch too much on her. She's always behind the scenes, doesn't like to be put out there on social media, but she's amazing, and I can't thank her enough. I don't think I've told her just how important she is to me and what she's helped me with. But she also, anytime I have brought it up, she just brushes it off and redirects it to me. She was like, "No, I didn't do anything. You did all the work yourself, But I'm very thankful for that. She also has a very unique ability to understand humans and understand how to help people as well. She started military, so she has her own story as well, which is amazing. I'd love to maybe get her on board next time we chat, and for her to tell her story. A lot of it is about military trauma, and there's so much to unravel with law enforcement and people of service.
Yeah.
Because after their time of serving this country, they're put back into normal civilization, the normal world, and feel like they don't have a place anymore. So her angle and approach to Good Theory is on behalf of military.
Wonderful. That's another huge need. I'm aware of some of that as well. Thank you, Lyman, so much for being on the show today. Listeners, check him out as he returns to the ring this year in 2024. and keep an eye on Good Theory. And Lyman, thank you so much. You guys, you're bringing pain to purpose, and that's the message I think we want everyone to take away today. Is there any last words you wanna share?
Keep doing what you're doing. I think we are stronger in numbers, so I'm happy to hear you're also on a path of your own. I'm sure things that you've probably not had spoken about when it comes to healing, because healing yourself helps you to do what you're doing today. So very proud of what you're doing as well. Keep it up. And for listeners out there, please understand that there's power in community and there is courage behind opening up and talking to people. It's very important for us to have that conversation, one that's vulnerable, that might be uncomfortable, but it is needed, and it's important. So please, anyone ever going through anything, open up, talk, have an open conversation with anyone that you feel is close to you, even if they're not. Sometimes we need strangers just to open up and vent to. Whatever it is, just please talk about it. Don't keep it to yourself.
Thank you, Lyman. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to connecting again, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. You too.